After graduating from the New Jersey Institute of Technology in 1999 with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, he joined Siemens as a design engineer trainee. He was quickly promoted to an engineering supervisor role, after which his department handled designs of pharmaceutical production facilities, lab and research facilities, and mission-critical data centers throughout New Jersey. After completing his M.B.A. with a concentration in Management Information Systems from the New Jersey Institute of Technology in 2003, he accepted the role of Business Development Manager, in which he provided technical guidance to consulting engineers in regards to the specification of new energy management and DDC control systems for laboratory buildings, mission-critical facilities, and office building systems, including fully integrated BMS, fire alarm, security, lighting control, and IT systems. In 2009, he was promoted to New Jersey area sales manager and received additional responsibility for the New York area in 2013. This past year, he was promoted to the head of strategic projects for the entirety of North America. Here to discuss smart buildings and the technology that helps bring together building automation and the future, please welcome Mr. Rich Nowak.
All right. Welcome to Tech Talks, everybody. How's everyone doing? Great. All right. This is awesome. I'm very excited to be here. I'm also, to be honest with you, very humbled to be speaking in front of all of you. You guys are all doing great things, and I'm sure that if I listened instead of talk, I'd find out what kind of great technology we're all working on. I'm fortunate to be at Siemens, and I've been here 17 years. So 17 years ago, I was one of you sitting in a chair looking at some old guy ready to tell me about his career. But I don't want to just talk to you about what Siemens is doing and just about what I'm doing. I want to do it in a way in which I can provide advice. Kind of like, I want to tell you what I wish someone told me 17 years ago about what's going to happen in my career. And I called it a dialogue, too, because this is not just one way. I mean, please ask questions throughout. You can stop me at any moment and ask me a question. So if you have one right now, I'll take it. But so let's keep going. So I work for Siemens. How many guys have heard of Siemens before today? Oh, that's pretty cool. How many people thought we made furniture? Awesome. When I first met people, I went down to the Jersey Shore from Jersey, and I would be partying down there. They would ask me about, can I get a good deal on a bed? So I'm glad you guys are obviously way more sophisticated than that. So you can see we have no furniture up there, but at Siemens we're an 80 billion or so euro company. We're also a $25 billion U.S. company. We have 70,000 employees in the United States. Stay up here? Okay. I like to wander. So we have, obviously we have huge amounts of businesses, do really cool stuff. I was actually talking to the Uber driver last night, and he said, yeah, you guys do some really cool wind turbines down the valley. And I'm like, yeah, we do wind turbines, we do all kinds of great things. I'm just one of these silos, building technologies, right? And that's one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about today, because when we talk innovation, there's disruptive innovations. There's things that come out like Uber. There's disruptive things that like Microsoft's come out with. And there's also incremental innovation. And there's also innovation in just collaboration. Or when you look at this company, Siemens, we have multiple silos of technology. Within each one of these silos, you can actually see we have even sub-silos. And then within that, we have sales, engineering, and operations inside of each one of those silos. That's what I want to talk to you about today, is because I didn't know this when I first started. And to truly create success, a lot of innovation is even just collaboration and communication within the groups you'll be working in. How many of you guys have a job lined up so far for next year? A couple. I know a couple were at Siemens. How many are graduating this year? Oh, just a couple. So we have a lot of undergrads. Okay, good. Well, that makes sense why a lot of you don't have jobs this year. So that's good. Okay. Let me just ask, how many mechanical engineers? Oh, get your hands a little higher so I can see. Be proud of mechanical engineers. Right. How about electrical engineering? How many electrical engineers? Whoa. Awesome. I started as an electrical engineer, and not to give you too much credit, but I couldn't hack it, so I wasn't. Ohm's law just blew me away. But the thing was, I wanted to do mechanical and electrical engineering. I remember when I was interviewing for my college, I said, well, what can I do with mechanical and electrical engineering? And they had no idea. So I had no idea. And I wound up tripping on the job at Siemens, where lo and behold, I'm a mechanical engineer applying electronic controls to make buildings smarter, which is pretty cool. So I got lucky, and that's another thing is I don't know how many of you guys have your whole career mapped out yet. No one, right? Yeah. So, but that's okay because I sure as heck didn't. So I got lucky with what I'm doing. I'm still not understanding how I got here because when I first started at Siemens, they asked me. They said, "What would you like to do for us? Would you like to go into sales?" And I said, "No way do I have any desire to go into sales." And now I basically run sales for North America. So talk about not having a career. I didn't even want this. But this turned out to be the coolest thing. So I can actually say I love my job, right? I've been doing it for 17 years at Siemens and I love it. And let me get into a little bit why. So one of the things that I noticed, when I was in your position, I tried to figure out, well, what could I do, because I'm motivated by a lot of things. And I guess, let me ask you guys, how many of you guys want to make a lot of money? So that was slower than I thought it would be. Right? But then how many people want to solve problems they see around them in life, right? I was even faster, which is good. Give the guy around the camera. Awesome. So that's what I thought too. I said I want to do something better because I was always upset by what I saw. I saw environmental issues, right? It always really got to me, right? So it was like, my parents had to recycle. They were all about it. And then I was all about energy too. And I'll never forget, I used to be a waiter during college, and I was working at Steak and Ale. And while I was waiting tables, one guy came to me and he said, "What are you going to do with your life?" And I was like, I thought it was weird, at the end of dinner, but I was looking for a good tip, so I talked to him. And I said, well, I think I want to go into energy. So the guy said to me, he goes, no, you got to go into automotive. You got to go into automotive. And I felt the guy was wrong. And the good thing is I stuck with the energy thing. And one of the things I wanted to do was solve problems with energy. So I kind of tripped into Siemens, but as I got here, I realized I made the right move because in the actually, this is a global statistic. Around the world, 41% of the world's energy supply goes towards building energy consumption. So I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that stat. It blew me away at first because my first thought is cars, transportation, manufacturing. You see smokestacks, you see all that stuff, but 41% of the energy in the world, 39% in the US, goes towards making buildings work. So it's pretty cool for me to fumble into this position where now I have the ability, not making a lot of money yet, but to make a lot of money, hopefully. But then to solve problems, like to really bring things together in a different way to change how buildings operate, to make them more efficient, to really have an impact on the environment. Now that I have two boys, obviously I have. You guys are probably not going to ask for how many people have kids, but that's something it's something I really want to do. So I got kind of lucky there. So that's what I'm doing at Siemens. But so now so what do we do to innovate, right? So what I'm talking about is innovation is a focus for us. It used to be on just the building. We used to just focus on this envelope, this footprint, right? And we never really looked at the individuals inside of it, and that's been a big part of our innovation. And the other thing is we always used to just look at a building and say, okay, well, we're going to put a thermostat on the wall, we're going to put a light switch on the wall, we're going to put a smoke detector in, and if the smoke detector goes off, use the side door. We're going to do all that stuff, right? But our innovation really came, and our dialogue changed when we started talking to our customers because their buildings are really part of their business. This building houses academics, for instance, right? So it could just house academics. The other thing is this building could also be intrinsic to your education. It could be part of the curriculum, it could be part of your research assignment, it could be something that you actually use the technology in the building to study. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but that was a real change for us. To not just say, let's make the building more efficient, but let's talk about how we're making the building more efficient so we can educate you guys in this room on how to do that. We have a lot of motivation for that. We want to sell more stuff, number one. Number two, we also are dying for strong engineering technical talent. We have over 3,200 positions in the US at Siemens, and we're looking for technical people that understand technology, energy. They want to be creative, and they're worried about the health and welfare of the environment and of our people, kind of like tech, right? That's what we're looking for. So we're actually looking, and I'll get into it more, but we're looking to build the envelope in a way in which you guys learn what we do while you're in college, because then we have more talent we can bring into our organization to better our customers. That's one of our may not seem like the biggest innovation, but like what I'm saying is there's incremental, there's different ways to look at it. A big part of this is communication too, is innovating who we communicate with and what our dialogue is, what our questions are. And it was a big change for us because we started talking to universities, instead of talking to the facilities engineering department, we started talking to the deans, to the professors, and to the presidents of universities to understand where they're going. And that's where this innovation came from to do. And that's one of the things I want to leave you guys with a lot. I'll keep going here, but one of the big things I want to leave you with is we'll go back into the silos and collaboration for that. But it's also one of the most important things you're going to have in your career is to communicate effectively and to communicate across silos. And if you're in any kind of a role in which your company is going to sell something to somebody else, pretty good chance that's going to be is communicate with your customers. Talk to them about their business. Make that an essential part of what you do. Okay, any questions so far? I need a question at some point. I'm going to start picking on people. There we go.
So you are working with designing instrumentation for improved efficiency standards in buildings. How much are you working with? Are you looking at existing green building standards like LEED or anything like that as you're doing that?
Yes, and looking to exceed them in most cases. Exactly. We have many LEED accredited professionals. Where a lot of our people are in the central organization, the Green Building Council, and we're also part of WELL. You guys heard of the WELL built environment? So that's a focus on you guys, right? It's a focus on the employees. So a lot of our customers, if you're building an office space, you're trying to attract talent. A lot of our customers are trying to attract. Are you guys considered millennials? Is that word? Okay. How do you like that? How do you like that term? Do you guys like that term? Millennial?
Awesome.
Yeah. It's awesome. You're being sarcastic, or you're
just not like it.
Yeah, I don't like the generalizations made about it.
I hate it. Like, I'm not a millennial. I hate it. I think it's you're bucketized, right? You're prejudged based on this. But anyway, but companies are like saying, I want to retain the millennial generation, and they're putting a well-built environment together, again, part of their business. And that's where we're trying to support. Is to make the environment more efficient. We're trying to bring better indoor air quality into the space. So if you're breathing fresher air, you're more productive. And every every company is trying to make you more productive because the more productive you are, the more money they make. Right? Yeah.
So I'm hearing about the building.
Yep.
And separately, we're hearing a lot about other kinds of technology that are becoming more green,
Yep.
such as electric cars. So is there an intersection between the two where within your building, you're not just looking at efficiencies and air quality, but you're looking at this is a place where those other technologies can be housed and integrated into the use of the building?
Yes, and it was a pretty cool question you just gave me because if you think about that, for us, we have in our energy management, we have in our smart grid solution as well as automatic car chargers. So and what you're saying is kind of what I was trying to say before was precisely it, is this is where I live, right? But then my success comes in coming to a customer and saying, how do we do that? How do we bring your car charging and how do we monitor it, make sure alarm it? What if you're at your desk and your plug comes out and the car's no longer charging and then you try and go home at night? How do we automatically let you know that your car's not charging? Like we're trying to create all those synergies by collaborating across our silos to do that. Okay. And so we even talked about in the past, if we're overcharged on cars, and if we know when you're going home, could we use some of the juice in your car to help power the building so we could reduce the demand limit charges from the utility? So there's all kinds of cool stuff.
When you said 41% of energy demand was buildings, is that in an industrialized nation like America, or is that just a worldwide aggregate?
39% of it's U.S., and the rest of it was called global aggregate. So I'd have to look a little deeper into that. Yeah. Yes.
On a similar note, with that number, how do you break up between industry versus other buildings? I mean, like we've got Rockwell Collins next door. Which does that go to? Is that industry, or is that just which office building versus?
So, you definitely break the metric down, right? Because there's far more energy-intensive spaces. Residential has one intensive use. Commercial office definitely has another use, another draw per square foot, watts per square foot of usage. Data centers are huge, right? All the server farms. So we benchmark. I mean, if we talk to a facility, we'll benchmark each unit against the rest of the peers, understand where they are, and then drive technology to help reduce that. Yeah, you definitely have to. You have a laboratory building, right? You've got fume hoods, you've got airflow going in and out, you've got a huge energy intensive building. It's far different than an office. Together, it winds up being about 41%. U.S. about 39% of our energy consumption.
What role do you think your company is going to be involved with wearable technology in regards to energy?
So that's a great question. Because we're right in the process of figuring that out. And it's also, we're looking at it in different spaces. So for instance, we are putting together, just in an office space, a complete personal assistant. So you know exactly where you are in the space. If you schedule a room in a conference room, we can give you wayfinding how to get there, all from your personal wear. We're also doing, and I'm going to table the rest of that question before we get to the healthcare. Because what I'm going to do is talk about a couple different innovations. And one of them in healthcare includes precisely that, wearables to help us drive more data to understand what's happening to the patient and how we can better patient outcomes continually using large amounts of data to do that.
What about things like the HoloLens and that type of thing?
The which?
The Microsoft HoloLens, like the heads-up display type of base technology?
We're just touching that. Yeah, yep. So I'm going to make sure I talk about the patient dance as we go. What we're looking at is, I'm going to do real quick, but a smart building platform, so we're looking at putting in some kind of central system, right? Because the way things are deployed, there's multiple building technologies in the building. And I want to go through some of this because then I can talk to you a little bit about what we've done to innovate the construction of buildings. Because the other thing that we're trying to do is there's barriers to building greener, there's barriers to building more well, and one of the biggest barriers is cost, right? Construction costs and construction efficiency. Construction efficiency hasn't gotten really much better over the last 50 years. Why is there inefficiency in construction? So if I put some silos up here, this is kind of what we see in every organization, including ourselves. So this one shows marketing, IT, new company, or one was IT, marketing, sales. And then from there, what we're also looking at is, this goes true for the entire industry that I play in. So I put a couple words under each one of these silos, but if you think about it, for every organization that runs a building, there's a mechanical shop, there's people in charge of HVAC, there's an electrical shop, people in charge of lighting or fire alarm. There's also a security department, there's a director of security, in charge of a security system. And then there's also an IT department too. And these are all separate silos generally. And these are all people making decisions on each individual set of technology. Within Siemens, we're actually set up the same way. As a matter of fact, like I asked in the beginning, we have mechanical engineers and we have electrical engineers. We're educated this way too. Everything we do is done in silos. And so when we looked at it as Siemens, one of the innovations is without creating any new innovative product, it was innovation in delivery. How do we do this differently? Because when you look at this, when you build a building, you have triplicate, quadruplicate, in many cases, cost structures. And our whole goal was to talk to our customers, create a better dialogue, and say, how can we break this down? Right? How can we do something different? So if you look at the construction of a building, here's the actual systems themselves. And you'll notice separate servers and separate networks and just a lot of redundancy to put these systems into space. And these systems really aren't doing anything for the average person in the space. We're keeping the temperature safe, we're keeping the temperature right, the fire alarm's letting you know something's safe, but they don't actually interact. And then all the data moves around the screen and just goes into each individual system. So all the metrics, all the energy consumption, it's all separate and all the data is siloed as well. So the systems are siloed, the data is siloed, the people that use it are siloed, we're siloed, the whole construction industry is siloed. So if you look at this, there's tremendous opportunity to change this. What we look at is how do we do this differently, right? What if we went to the IT department and merged all of our mechanical and electrical technologies? I don't know if you guys ever saw video games from Atari way back when, if you retrofitted like Frogger. Yeah. So we call this our Frogger diagram. So you see all this technology, and the whole idea is very simple. It's without much change. It's let's go in and create one unified structure. Put everything together, right? Mash it all together and bring these separate technologies into one set. So now all the data is coming together, right? And like every technology you see, the buzzword is IoT, right? Everything's going IoT, and everything's going to the cloud, right? And what's interesting is if you don't do this, every manufacturer and everybody who supplies this stuff is creating a cloud for every single one of these technologies. So at some point there will be so many clouds person who's running the building won't be able to see the light. How's that? That's the first time I used that.
That's good.
It's worked? Okay. So you can see, so the whole idea for us was, well, let's change this, right? Let's go to our customers. And then on top of that, we have some really cool innovation even within the space here where we said, why are we making separate systems? Why are we putting a thermostat on the wall next to a light switch, next to a shade switch? Let's build one piece of plastic, put it all in one, right? Why wouldn't we do that? You're probably buying that at home right now. Why would we put it to a big building, a sophisticated building? Why should someone's house be more sophisticated? So it's not groundbreaking, but so we did that. So then we even further unified the cost here to drive a tremendous amount of cost out and then drive all the technology together so everything talks together to make the building more efficient, to unlock efficiencies, and then to use data to make it more efficient as the building moves forward. Because when you start studying buildings, you realize that after 5 or 6 years, it becomes 10% less efficient. Things start to drift. So then if we take all the data from all the systems together, we can eliminate that drift. And if we just did that for every building in the United States, if I could save 10% of the energy in every building in the United States, I could do a lot of damage, a lot of good damage, reducing the carbon footprint of the United States. So that's what we want to do. So to do that, we had to take and break down all these silos and go to our customers and talk to everybody and say, we've got this great idea, we're going to put all this together. So we talked about this a couple of years ago. So we went out there and we knocked at everyone's door and we talked to them about it. And we said, this is the greatest idea. And what do you think everyone said to us in the construction industry? Your proposal is innovative. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do this because we've never tried something like this before. So that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. So this happened to us over and over and over, and it keeps happening to us over and over. And one of my points today is there's communication, there's collaboration, but don't give up, because if it was easy to do, it would have been done before, right? Your ideas, you may have a great idea, it's going to feel like sandpaper to the person who has never done it that way. You know, it's going to be gritty, and that's part of what I'm trying to talk about. Is stick to it. So then from there, well, let me just tell you something. How do you think I felt? Right? This beautiful looking man is me. I felt like I had I could solve your problem. And I'll say it started out that way, but then, you know, as we move forward, this thing's starting to take traction, right? So buildings are getting built differently, which has been fantastic. And this has been a tremendous feat for us to actually change construction, to show savings, and to create far smarter buildings with more intelligence. And this is the basis of where we're going for the next couple sections of this, which is, so now how do we focus these technologies, not just on the construction side, but on the people inside? And that's where it gets really fun and really cool. So we went to look at this in healthcare, because healthcare is tremendous opportunity. Right now, when you go to hopefully you don't, but you go to a hospital, the hospital's a box, right? And you have nurses, you have doctors all working very hard to make sure your care is as good as it can be. But the box, the room, nothing in that box does anything to promote your care or promote your outcome. It just sits there as walls and cinder block and stuff. So we started talking to our current customers. We do a lot of healthcare work. We started saying, what if there was a way to take all the research that's available in the cloud, Health Cloud, your cloud, look at your data strategy, and use that research and that data to better provide for better patient outcomes, right? Because there's a lot of studies out there, which we'll get into, that show that if you change simple things in a patient room based on what the issue is with that patient. If one of the studies that we've read is about lighting. With an Alzheimer's patient, if you can take off the blue hues out of the LEDs, you increase the outcome, you increase the healing capability of that patient. It's just that simple. If I can just change the color of the lights. Another piece of research that we used to base our decision to do this was an organ transplant recipient. If we can drop the temperature of the space by 5 to 6 degrees, an organ transplant recipient has a 30% less chance of organ rejection. Isn't that cool? Did you guys know that? I found out about a couple months ago before we started this. I mean, if you were getting a new kidney, wouldn't you want that to be the case? And now, let's say that's one research paper that's been done somewhere in the cloud. How would every healthcare institution know that? How many transplants are happening per day, and that's not happening? So we said, what if we could have access to that data? We could bring that data into the space. We could hook in the patient room. The patient room is temperature control, it's light control, In many cases, there's motorized operable shades because in some cases, there's probably a surgery that needs you to block out the natural light. It's too bright. So we said, what if we could take this? We could use what I said in the past about wringing out construction costs and then take that money, right, from that and move that into connecting the health cloud to the electronic medical record system, all the patient records with anonymity to the name following HIPAA, and bring that to automatically or semi-automatically to let the nurse know or the doctor or just do it to effect change in the patient room. And we can effect change in the patient room, so for every procedure, there's a recommendation of temperature, light, color, light level, and potentially shade. And if we can do that, we can reduce hospital stays, we can reduce healthcare costs, we can make healthcare more efficient. Your insurance deductibles and rates should go down. So it's kind of one of the things that we're looking at doing. On top of that, we've even looked at doing an automated infection control in the space too with this. Because one of the biggest, do you ever hear, don't go to the hospital because you're going to get sick? Yeah. So it's a huge deal, infection control. So what can we do with this to create better patient outcomes, reduce the risk of infection, all with the system? And this is an innovation that came, quite frankly, from talking to hospital executives, nurses, doctors, people that are actually doing the work and actually part of the care, and then going through research that's available online. And so this is something new that's coming out that we're working with multiple institutions right now. And it's just a pretty cool thing. Now, you talked about integrating the patient, and that's something that's not in our solution yet, but that's something we've looked at too for the patient room of the future, is identifying, especially the patient sleep cycle. And the other thing you want to do with the wearable is you want to know when that patient is already sleeping, because you want the nurse, because what's the number one way to get a patient to recover from a procedure? Sleeping. Yep. So we want to do everything we can to move around that sleep cycle. The wearable, live data from the wearable allows us to know sleep cycles, and then historical data from the wearable allows us to know everything that patient experienced, so that we can analyze what the outcome is versus the wearable data versus the environmental data that we're going with it. Yep.
So going on that, based on how you describe, how important is the skill set for big data analysis and automation coming into the workforce and learning that skill set ability?
So I'm so glad you said that. You actually set up the next part of the discussion. That's huge, right? So when I went to engineering school, data science, knowledge management, and analytics was not anywhere near part of my curriculum. Is it in the engineering curriculum here at Tech? You guys take data science classes? No, and I think that's to your point. That's where we're going, because if you look at the data, I mean, I just mentioned some of the healthcare data, but even when we talk about the rooms, the building itself, just being able to take large sets of data and understanding the value of data, how you take that, create information, and then knowledge on how to better optimize a facility. How can you take that data and predict failure rather than react to failure in machinery? And we're revamping our entire service team to do that for our customer base, to make their buildings more efficient, to make their people more efficient. And that's part of the skill set we need. It's the technical engineering with the data, right? Those two skills are huge. So if you have an elective you can take, I would definitely say that's where you want to go. And quite frankly, that's exactly what we're doing. We're partnering with universities around the country with. For that precise reason, we've talked to universities and said, we have great engineering students. We have a different skill set that we need. We need engineering and we need data. We need a combination of the two. And like I said, we also want communication and collaborative capability, right? Because we have to break our own silos to be more effective, and we have to break our customer silos to bring innovation to our customers. So that's kind of what we did here. We met with this university. We listened to them, and instead of listening to them just about what their energy requirements were, their construction budget, we went across their silos and we met with the academic side. We met with University of Advancement and said, okay, you're putting this 600,000 square foot building in. What are you going to do in the building? And they said, well, we have this program has a big emphasis on urban science and progress, and they want to use big data to understand how to make cities more efficient, because a more efficient city has less pollution, it's more profitable, people want to live there, and they want to make buildings more efficient using big data. So they have a whole graduate school dedicated to that. And we said, perfect, because we have big data tools and technology, and we're looking to do research assignments in your facility or in a facility to understand how we can better train our staff to be able to help our customers optimize their space with big data. And that's what we did. And the innovation here it's not the technology we put in, but it's what we put it in for. We met with the deans and the professors, and we're putting this technology into the classroom. So now there's classes built around the optimization of the building with the technology. There's classes built around how to use the data. We're actually, and for me, this is the coolest thing that I've done at Siemens so far. When I was at NJIT, I went to New Jersey Tech. I had a scholarship for academics, and then I was working as a waiter, like I said, 35 hours a week. They gave me a scholarship from Merck. This guy gave me an extra scholarship so I could work less. And I always thought to myself, I have to pay that back somehow, right? How do I pay that back? So then when we met with this university, I was like, I know how to do it. We created a Siemens scholarship here to fund a PhD student to use our technology for 2 years to study this building, and our R&D and their PhD student are going to work together to create, better outcomes for both us and the university. So that was a cool thing we got to do with an innovative approach. And like I said, just to tie it back to it, it was all about breaking down silos, right? We broke down silos at Siemens to bring together delivery as well as R&D, and we broke down the silo within the university to go to the deans, the academics, university advancement, and the facility engineers to make the box part of the education, right? Not just the box that we sit in. So that's innovation in collaboration, innovation by breaking down silos and communication, and it's innovation in delivery. And it's really nothing about creating an awesome product yet. It's really about just doing things differently, listening to our customers and having a greater dialogue. But I do want to share with you one last thing that's super cool for us. It's a product. And I'm not trying to sell it, I'm just trying to say. But if you want to buy it, they're available in September. So one thing that we look at too is forget all this stuff. Let me just tell you a story behind it. Is we also look at, you have to sit with your customers and understand their problems, but you also have to be able to identify the problems that they don't know they have yet, right? And then also, if there's one thing that we like to do too is if we've done something, mind you things, and I've done something the same way for 5 years or 10 years, let's challenge that. Find a way to challenge that. And you don't realize it, above the ceilings, there's air valves everywhere. And the air valves are just dampers, they control flow. And when you go through fluid dynamics and physics, you go through the equations, flow equals velocity times area and all that stuff. So there's flow control devices. They're the same devices above that ceiling that have been there for 40 years. 40 years. That's how slow construction moves. They're controlling the space right now. So we looked at it, and it's a single blade. It's one blade damper that moves like this to make more airflow go if you're hot, less if you're cold. It's that simple, right? So even in that simple application, we said, this is our idea. What if there was 2 blades? It sounds so simple, right? But if there's 2 blades, we can extend the flow turn down capability of this thing by 12 times. So we can go from 8 to 1 to 100 to 1. So our customers say, well, what am I going to do with that, right? Well, if I can completely change how this works, do it for the same price than the single blade, and if I can give you 100 to 1 turn down, what that means is I can make everything slightly larger. In engineering, you hear about right sizing because you can't get turned down, but if I can make everything slightly larger, I can create a one-size-fits-all scenario for airflow control devices across a customer's entire portfolio. So when a customer builds something, they have to choose between 5 or 6 different sizes of airflow terminals, right? So someone has to engineer all those. Someone has to sit down, there's hundreds of hours that go into it, and then someone has to coordinate them, because like I said, they're silos. One guy provides it, one guy draws it, one guy installs it. So you got all this stuff that has to happen. So then we said, if I can do one size fits all, think about the cost I can take out. And then if I can oversize it and reduce the pressure that goes through that device, then I can reduce the sound it creates, which means I can take another couple $100 out of the ductwork. And at the same time, if I can reduce the pressure that the fan's blowing against, I can reduce the horsepower and the energy of the fan just by putting in a new device. Part of the story here is, this is a very simple innovation. We went from 1 damper to 2, but it's going to completely disrupt the entire industry of people who provide this stuff, because now this stuff is that much better. So, go ahead.
Is
that going to impact engineering jobs in this field? Because you won't need as many people to engineer each project?
That is, you could, I was thinking that when I said it, that's the only answer. I'm a promoter of engineering jobs. Well, I have 31 opening positions for engineers. So now the whole idea is I can take people who are doing something that could easily be, that should be made more efficient, and have them do higher level things, like the data stuff we were talking about, or the integration of systems to provide better outcomes. So I don't have enough engineering talent, and maybe this will help me free up some of my talent to do other stuff, which is my goal. So, yeah, any questions before I close it up? Go ahead.
It looks like Siemens has done a great job of industry-university relationship and benefited from that. What recommendations would you give someone who's trying to set that up but is struggling and their company still has the square wheel?
I mean, it all starts with relationship with the university, and the beginning of a dialogue, right? So your struggle is to get attractiveness from the university or within your own organization?
I'm trying to convince my company.
Oh, okay.
I know it takes time, but I present the opportunities, write proposals, but the feedback is we're too busy, we're understaffed. I guess what you said about don't give up is probably what's sticking the most.
That's it, and I mean for us, it's the growth of the skill set and the collaboration with the university. The other thing too is, university collaboration is a 360-degree view. So we're actually doing more business with the university because we're doing more business and then hiring more students. It's a give and take. So part of the business value proposition is let's get the university to better train people so we can hire them, and we do more work with the university too. So there's definitely financial. I mean, and there's the soft financial, which is you're bringing in much greater talent that's much better able to do the things that you need to do to grow, and you're bringing in what we're trying to bring is the more creative individuals that'll continue to create the ideas we don't know we need yet. So I mean, that's how we talk about it. Go ahead.
With everything being integrated into one system, security kind of comes to my mind as kind of a concern. Not that, at the end all, it's kind of an obstacle, but how do you plan to kind of adapt to that threat?
Yeah, so that's a very huge concern. Security and single source of failure too, right? So obviously you build all that stuff in, so you don't have you build the security in, and security is stuff and it's expertise. And what we've done is build a nationwide organization of IT expertise to help us make sure that we're protecting the assets we're putting into these institutions. Yep, in the back. Is that how much time I have left?
Talking about your building strategies, have you ever thought about integrating some of the newer technologies that are coming out so you can make your building self-sustainable electrical-wise?
What kind of technologies?
Geothermal power plants, possibly thermal power plants that are on the roof, modern solar cells, and possibly even thorium technology.
What was the last one?
Thorium technology, using a sodium reactor to create your own energy.
I haven't heard of the last one yet, but everything that you're talking about is entirely appropriate, because that's the whole net zero energy building, right? Where you produce as much or more than you actually use.
Yeah.
It's the integration of all those devices. You go in geothermal, you put heat pumps in, that's how you're heating, cooling the space. We're agnostic and we're trying to bring as much in. Obviously, we're a wind turbine company, so we'll try and do wind power with it. Solar for sure. We do a lot of solar projects actually. So solar on the rooftop, geothermal. We've looked at fuel cells on site too. It sounds like with thorium.
Yeah, and there's another product that recently was developed called Vanta Black, and it absorbs 99.996% of all incoming light, and it actually transfers it directly to thermal energy. Have you thought about that as well?
I haven't yet, but see, that's cool stuff, right? That would easily tie into the whole smart building framework. The whole point of it is it's an open framework to allow us to bring that stuff in, and then the idea is how do we use the software to most efficiently use all those different sources and keep our electric rates down and even deliver back to the grid.
I know that in the past, Siemens has used a lot of AI-like technology to program buildings to make them more energy efficient without the parts necessarily being upgraded. Are you doing anything to make that more automated and less people have to set points?
Yes, there's a multitude of things that you can do for that. There's specific to the types of plants, specific to the types of air distribution and water distribution. There's software that goes in and learns. And then there's also the cloud software that goes on top, the analytics and the automated fault detection. And the whole idea there is to do all that, to identify what's happening, what's not just going to be the issue that you have to react to, but what are the conditions that are creating that issue before it becomes a problem. And so all that we're bringing that into the cognitive analytics. Within that, we're partnering with other companies to help us drive more intelligence at the upper level to do better machine learning with that. Yep. Yep.
So a big trend in building energy efficiency relatively recently, at least in terms of a lot of the green building standards, is in passive design. And that's obviously a little bit at odds with building controls. I was just curious how much Siemens works with clients in terms of passive design. If there's a role for Siemens and for building automation in those cases.
So you mean like as in operable windows and solar chimneys and?
Yeah, or just daylighting. Use of daylighting.
That's 100%. That's the idea for us is to help our customer deliver the most efficient building possible. And even the passive design, I worked on the past. It was a hybrid. Most of what we see is a hybrid. In Europe, it's a lot of real passive design where there's actually sometimes no air conditioning at all. We actually have buildings that operate that way in Germany. But in the U.S., the requirements, for us is to be cooler when we want to be cooler, warmer when we want to be cooler, but passive whenever we can. And we have multiple buildings with operable windows, and we incorporate that into the system because you want to use as much of the passive as possible. I mean, it's kind of funny when you actually think about it. You go home before you go to work, you close your window, and then you go sit in a building that you can't even touch the windows, right? For the most part. Think about it; those windows don't open, right? So it's like it's weird, right? Why did we do that, right? And so like I worked on a job in Manhattan which had the first operable windows, but it also had chill beams. And so for me, it's actually sometimes more intense control because I have to allow you to open the windows, warn you when you're bringing in too much humidity, and work with all the systems so that the chill beam doesn't start raining on your desk. And then if the sun's coming in, I want to work with that too because I want to use as much natural light as possible, but sometimes I want to block it out because sometimes the wonderful natural light is heating up the space so much that I'm using more energy, even though I'm able to turn my lights off. So we like to play with all that to come up with the most optimal conditions and keep that as comfortable as possible and as efficient as possible. Yep.
On the subject of green energy, what is Siemens doing in the marine or maritime environment?
There's probably more than I know because I'm not the best at going across my silos. Even though I said that's what you should be doing. There's just too much for us to know. Funny phrase that Siemens, one of the investors said about Siemens in 2000, and I'm trying to change that, and I'm not doing a good job, is if only Siemens knew what Siemens knows, it'd be more powerful. But I do know that in maritime, just on cruise ships, for instance, we are working with cruise ships because if you think about it, a cruise ship is a giant hotel, convention center, casino, bar, floating at sea, which has to be, and you've paid $5,000 to get on that ship, so you want to be comfortable, so it uses a ton of energy to cool the ship, right? So, and you don't realize that there's huge chill water plants in these ships, 6, 7, 8,000 tons, using tons of CO2 because they're burning the diesel engines. So what we're doing is working just in that cooling environment to optimize that. And the coolest part about a cruise ship is the cruise ship goes from, let's say, mine leaves out of Bayonne, New Jersey, and it starts out in 69-degree water, and if it goes up to Newfoundland, it goes to 40-degree water. So all my cooling is surrounding the boat, and we're trying to optimize, because a lot of equipment can't handle that, and we've created algorithms like you were asking before, intelligent algorithms that can use that seawater with very little emissions, CO2 emissions, to cool everybody in that space. So that's kind of one of the, how I answer that. Yep.
Hi. For the building innovation where you use a smart server for all the systems.
Yep.
So we've thought about doing that and doing a cloud server for all of our systems. But the concern is if multiple systems are going to one server and the server breaks, then all your systems are down. How are you guys dealing with that?
Now you're starting to sound like my first customer. So just like the gentleman over here mentioned cybersecurity, the two things when you start to bring systems together is survivability and security. And for survivability, the most essential thing to do is to make sure that everything operates in all the spaces in a standalone fashion. And the servers for supervisory user, control, information, data, and optimization. So it's incumbent upon us to design things so they're resilient to that. And then obviously there's technologies like virtualization that allow us to even make the server redundant too. Yes?
Who are your customers mostly?
Are they
architecture firms or construction firms?
So indirect customers are architectural firms and engineering firms. It's our job to educate them as much as possible because they're the ones who are designing tomorrow's buildings. And we want to help them put it into their plans and their specifications so that it can be bought as efficiently as possible. Our other customers are general contractors. They're the ones that buy from us. And again, many times they're buying the way they did yesterday. And our goal is to help them understand that if they did things differently, they could provide more value to their customer. They could save cash, and that cash can be redeployed by the customer for something of better benefit. And then our customers are also obviously hospitals, educational institutions, large firms. Some of the firms that sponsor this are our customers.
So here at Oregon Tech, we have a lot of technical students, but we also have some health students.
Okay.
And you mentioned that learning about big data and learning the concepts behind that would be really important for tech students.
Yep.
But what can health students do to get involved?
So health students, when we meet with a hospital now, the interesting thing is we're meeting with people with positions that I wasn't aware of. And big data in healthcare is huge. When we meet with the CIO, we met with a healthcare institution in the Midwest. There was an entire department that was involved with data analytics in healthcare. So I think everything we do, because if you think about it, every single device that we have, whoever made that device says, hey, back it up with our cloud. Or, hey, this is IoT compliant, this is in the IoT. And so the data is intrinsic to every major outage. Okay, so just to summarize, first, I'd like to say thank you guys very much. It was an honor to be considered a keynote speaker. Hope I lived up to what you were looking for. And just to kind of summarize where we went is innovation takes many forms. It's the potential for disruptive innovation, like our double blade. It's the potential for innovation through collaboration and just innovation in communication. And innovation in itself, if it was never done before, there's a reason for it. So it's going to take work. It's going to take, you're going to get rejected, and it's going to happen. But I just would say keep to it, keep up, keep pushing for the innovation because that's what's going to move you forward in your career, whether it's your own company or whether it's a large company like mine to get into. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.